And yes, here we are on a Tuesday night at 7 o'clock Eastern time, promising to talk football, actual football tonight. Florida State Seminoles live for a 56th time with Jason Parker at the top from NBC. We've got Logan Robinson, of course, from NOLAGameDay.com, and Big Game, James Coleman, fifth quarter college football. Welcome in, guys. Appreciate you always making this thing happen because of you three, not because of me. So we're going to talk some football tonight, and I'm sure that will spill into social conversation just because, hey, if you cover the sport, that's what you got to talk about these days. We are not dodging the issues, but we will meet it all head on. But it is my hope and ardent wish that we get to mostly a football show at some point, but we're 3 months away or so away from actual football on the field, or 80 days to week 0 if what the NCAA talked about this week will actually fall into place, and that's going to be voted on next week in regards to the 4-week plan of actual fall camp, preceded by the 2 to 3 weeks of conditioning and playbook prep and monitoring by the coaches.
And I spoke with a source inside the football program who told me what their plans are. They are already putting plans in place for what could possibly be a very interesting seating requirement. There's more on that coming up later in the show. I also want to give a shout out to James Coleman, who's coming in and playing hurt this week. Had a little bout of food poisoning like myself. We had that earlier this week, yet he still came to play. So welcome, James, to the program. And shout out to Logan, who obviously didn't realize he graduated from high school, 4 years ago, and is still repping his high school shirt tonight. So shout out to Logan there, representing the Charles High Schools.
For what it's worth, this shirt right here, this was our senior year, and we went to the playoffs for the first time ever. And we're a white baseball, soccer school, softball, all that kind of thing. So the football team actually going to the playoffs when facing Columbia. I'm gonna wear this shirt a little bit more. I might wear it more on the show now because of you.
Two shout outs from Jason in the first 37 seconds of the show. I will be doing my very best, my damnedest over the next 58 minutes to earn a shout out from Jason. That's going to be my goal.
2 more shout outs. Shout out to MarkRogersTV, the voice of college football, for bringing us on here this week. And shout out to Rob Gronkowski, since we're giving a shout outs to high school. He's giving my high school alma mater, Blake High School in Tampa, Florida, all their equipment back because their damn shed burned to the ground. So congratulations. Thanks, Gronk. We appreciate it. Yeah. There you go.
I think that we need to address the forecast of when workouts are going to start, full-fledged workouts, conditioning, and then fall camp. I don't have the article in front of me that outlines it. I talked about it last night in detail. But basically, before we get to the Florida State focus on the commits and so forth, I think this is basically the most important item as it pertains to actual football on the field. Would be, James, I'm sure you've seen the rundown of the projection on how this would lay out in regards to conditioning, playbook prep, monitored by coaches, and then going right into fall camp, and when that would need to roll out, that there's going to be a vote next week.
I mean, yeah, you got to – I mean, all you really need – people have been asking this for a while. All you really need is about 6 weeks, and I think that's kind of about right. That's about right up there. I mean, you get your good, solid – month of strength and conditioning, which a lot of people have done. They started June 1st, maybe a little bit earlier, involuntarily. And then what you do is you get your guys to come in and actually get your coaches to be able to help do with install. There's only so much you can do through a Zoom meeting, but I mean, spring it's 15 practices. So of that, probably 3 or 4 of them are scrimmages. And the rest of them are really just glorified walkthroughs where you get a chance to bang up on each other. So this just shows this is where you got to see how organized your coaching staff is, and if they're everything they're supposed to be, this would be a great time. And now you actually get all your live arms, so now you get a chance to see more. It's going to be about who's been putting in the work during the COVID, and this is where you'll get a chance to see it.
James, quick question for you. You talk about the coaching staff and seeing what's going on there. Is this a time where what do you expect to see? What do you think the Norvell 2020 staff is going to bring to the table as far as that? Do you think they've done a good job of keeping the players in line as far as on their practice routines during the summertime?
I mean, from what I've heard, it's been pretty good. It's a lot of accountability. Guys are taking things into consideration. If you don't show up to the meeting on time, if you're falling asleep, you're getting called out. And, I guess they're punishing you as much as they really can. But, I mean, we'll see. It's really, really nice, and it's really good to say all these different things. But I promise people, if you go back, and it's the history major in me. If we go back and we look at 2 years ago, when what about to say Willie Simmons, but shout out to FAMU. When Willie Taggart first came, you'll see a lot of excitement, a lot of these different things, and how much different it is than the previous administration who had won a national championship. If you go back and you look at, last spring, we didn't pay attention to details. Now we're a little bit more focused. We're this. And if you go and you look at Jimbo's last spring, you'll see a lot of the same things. It's really good and it sounds great. And what are you supposed to say? Like, you know what? We're really focused on sucking this year. Nah, they know what the players at the end of the day know what they did wrong, and they know what's up, and they've got to speak that. Now it's on them to really trust and take on what this new coaching staff has done. I always tell people it's a big difference between a coach that resigned or walked away for a better opportunity and a coach that was fired. Sometimes when a coach is fired, it puts a little fire up under your ass. So hopefully that's what these guys are going to do. And hopefully, the trust thing is really going to be there. I personally believe trust is earned, is not given. So, but I also have this thing is you have to give the coach the benefit of the doubt, because you can't go out there and coach yourself. But with guys who are young and in some of the position groups that haven't got coaching in years, i.e. the linebacker core, you got a guy like Coach Marv, who's really, really good with a really young nucleus that really they have no choice but listen, because they've never had success on their own. You've got an offensive line group that literally, we know these kids read their press clippings. They know everybody thinks that they're dumpster juice. So they've got no choice but to listen, because they've been dumpster juice trying to do it on their own. And the quarterback room, that should improve, because you've got Coach Norvell, who takes an active role in that, and Coach Dillingham is actively in that. So we'll see.
So again, to hit the high points on this proposal that's going to be voted on at the next meeting from the NCAA Division I Council on June 17th. I should be better organized on this. I just had a big conversation on a live chat about this last night, but basically...
One huge favor, Dennis Wilson, can you change your icon, please? Because you have a high school bunch of guys, high school players. If you're going to be a Canes guy, at least be a man enough to put a cane.
We're talking about a 2-week period for coach supervised walkthroughs and meetings. That's where they can kind of monitor conditioning, see where their team's at, and then a full rollout of August camp. The dates that would have to be hit for week 0 would be July 6th, July 24th. So if you move that up a week or move it back a week, depending on how you phrase that, it would only have to be like mid-July and then the 1st of August to get ready for week 1 of the college football season when everybody else starts playing. And I think that should be the big goal.
And I spoke to a couple people inside the football program who spoke under the condition of anonymity, and they basically said they believe right now football will be played, every game will be played, all 12 games will be played. As far as what we've talked about in the past about how many fans in the stands or whatnot, right now what FSU is hoping for is that whether it's the state of Florida, because the NCAA has basically said it's up to the schools, it's up to the conferences, you go by whatever your state is doing, you go from there. So what FSU is hoping is that the state of Florida says at least 50% to 75% capacity, because that would allow them to keep all season ticket holders, which are about a little over 30,000 seats in the stadium, and then allow some students, some opposing fans in there. What their worst case scenario is if they said it'd be 25% capacity or less, because the problem there becomes some season ticket holders wouldn't be allowed in. No opposing fans would be in. Sorry, Logan, no students would be allowed in, because obviously the students aren't paying for their tickets. So right now, that's the situation FSU's at. Right now, they believe they were going to get at least 50% capacity at this point, but that's something that we have to wait at least probably about another 2 or 3 weeks before a decision is made.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I think it was publicly reported today that there is a player right now on the active team that has a COVID case. So whenever that starts happening, we've seen before though. There's a lot of teams right now that are dealing with that, and once it starts getting close to August and all that kind of stuff, things are going to start. That's where we're going to start getting some really good answers on if there's going to be football pushed back a month or two, or what's going to happen. Because what if starting quarterbacks are getting the case, linemen, blah 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 blah. You're just not going to be able to have them around the team. It's going to be interesting.
Well, the cool thing, not the cool thing, man, let me make sure I rephrase that. It's been reported, finally reported, that we had a player have the COVID. That actually happened a few weeks ago when they first started reporting. So like that, and I believe it was asymptomatic. I ain't about to get sued, so I'm not about to say who it was or who it wasn't. But I mean, they took a ton of precautions. So the COVID is gonna happen, no different. I mean, it is different. There's something that we're still trying to get a hold of. It's probably never going to have a fully cure. Or it's probably not going to have a cure anytime soon. But it probably will be on the list of those things that are up there, like your flu or things like that. I wouldn't even just go like there. I think it'd be more severe. I mean, obviously, flu you still practice. Flu can kill you, but maybe more like mono. I remember seeing guys who get mono and that really affect them and do stuff. And it's contagious, but typically they get it under control really, really quick and they move the guys around. But one thing again, no matter how much you believe this exists or doesn't exist, the one thing we all know that does exist is greenbacks. And that's what makes America move. And don't nobody care about. I mean, I'm here to tell you, and this is coming from a guy who was a student athlete, and it's sad, but don't nobody give a damn about the student athletes. Nobody give a damn about athletes. What they care about is the money and the bread, and they're not going to let that bread go away. They're not going to let that unless COVID really outbreaks and it becomes like, and zombies are going to be potentially buying tickets. I think we're going to probably see all these games because they're going to go get that money in Atlanta. They're going to get that money from them home games. It's probably going to be 50% or more, and guys are already saying to hell with the statistics and everything else, and let's just open up the states and move forward. Hell, I think what was it like? I believe it was it 10,000 new cases in 10 days in the state of Florida, and not a peep. So like again, that just lets me know that I'm just going to take a lot more vitamin C. Glutathione, people, that is the stuff that you should take. Make sure you get the natural properties of glutathione. Don't take the pill because it will deplete your natural glutathione stores, which means look at the breakdowns of it. Take that stuff naturally so that your body can make it naturally, and pray for the best.
Can you spell that real quick?
I cannot. I can barely. If you've seen my Twitter, that's probably why I got banned. I can barely spell. Like I pay editors with that. My editors are really, really good with fifth quarter, so that it looks like I'm intelligent. It's kind of like college.
I was actually going to ask you about Twitter. Can you give me a Fire Dabo shirt in an XL? That'd be super if you could give me that right there. Fire Dabo.
I was gonna do that, but I don't mail out stuff fast enough to be able to create new things. There's people still mad at me because I have this thing that I'm like allergic to the post office. But hashtag Fire Dabo.
Right. If you
people,
let's hashtag Fire Dabo on the front and then bench Drew Brees on the back. That'd be super right there.
That's what it's going to take, I guess.
That'd be great right there. They can't back from Jason Parker.
Get back to a conference championship game.
Exactly.
So, just one other note that I want to hit on before we move on is the way that COVID has been dealt with in regards to an individual testing positive. I don't see a huge issue until we get everybody on the field together for fall camp. So when they're popping pads, and then if somebody tests positive, the guideline has been, I think it's down to 10 or 11 days that they quarantine that individual, but then they quarantine everybody that comes into contact with that individual. I would love to see an explanation of how that's going to be dealt with.
Well, the whole situation, like using what James said, here in the state of Florida, we had a 5-day period of, I want to say it was about between 7,000 and 8,000 positive tests in the state of Florida. Now, the argument from one side of the issue was, it's because there were more tests available. There's been a drastic increase in sites across the state of Florida. The other side of that argument is it's the 1 to 2 weeks after Memorial Day, and everyone's out together on Memorial Day acting like idiots in the backyard or at their local bar or their local beach or whatever, and everyone's congregating. That's where it came from. So that's where we're kind of in that position. I think you hit the nail on the head, Mark. We're really not going to know anything until later this summer. We're not going to know anything until the fall. That's when we're going to start to see these numbers again. And if these numbers skyrocket, that comes the question. If these numbers skyrocket coming into November, for example, which is when flu season starts across the country, do we cancel the last month of the season? It's a valid question. I don't want it. For those who are saying, "Oh, I'm an alarmist," no, I don't want that to happen. But it is a valid question, and that's a point right there where we've got the Miami game, we've got the Florida game, we've got winnable games against Boston College and Syracuse. That might be the month that decides whether we go to a bowl game. That's why we need to seriously have a question about this, or we just go 8-0 to start off the season. Then we're fine.
I'm not even talking about these numbers skyrocketing. I'm talking about one athlete gets it on a particular football team. He's exposed 105 other guys. How is that going to be dealt with? Because the way it's dealt with now is that they quarantine that individual and everybody that they've come in contact with. So it's going to shut down practice.
If they've already, that's why it's so important to have testing in the beginning. Like the odds of having, like if they test everybody in the beginning when they first come in, and you do some also precautionary tests after that, just to make sure nothing is, nothing was dormant or whatever. Then from there, like the odds of your team really being infected are slim and none. Like right now, Florida has tested 87 players. 80 of them tested negative. 7 right now are pending. Right now, Florida can go with the 80 players who tested negative and work out and go and flourish. The 7 guys who are pending probably have to wait a little bit to find out if it's just negative or false positive or something like that. Retake it again. So those are the things that people are going to do. And once you get to camp, there's still nobody on campus. So, your side piece might have it. Again, I'm sorry, people. I'm an athlete. This happens. Like, college athletes have girlfriends and girls that are friends. And you don't have it. You hope she doesn't have it. Now, if you go around and you get the sniffles, the minute that you get the sniffles or the minute that you come in with a thermal scan, because they are going to do the different the symptom things, they're going to pull your ass to the side and you're not going to practice. Like, it's one of those things where if you're asymptomatic, then like what they're saying now, guys who are asymptomatic can't pass it on. So they're going to go with that and flourish with that. If you have the symptoms, they're not going to let you pass go or collect $200. You're going to go back to your dorm. They're going to stick that swab up your nose and see what's going on, touch your brain and circle it around. And then they're going to put you down and you're going to get to eat lunch and work out by yourself and have your own water bottle for a little bit. Now, what will suck is, now for Florida State, we won't really know the difference, like if James Blackman gets it. But what will suck is that if you're another team, like if let's say Justin Fields gets it with Ohio State. I like Justin, but I kind of want to speak that into existence. I don't want him to get the full-on COVID, but just like a little bit of it, just so we can tone down the Ohio State guys a little bit, or Kyle Trash.
You did
for some of these other guys.
Mark is getting pissed at you for that. Jeez.
I'm sorry. I don't want him anything bad to happen with him, but just a little sprinkle, like just to bring stuff down.
A half case.
Yeah. Let him have
even just a one loss. They don't have to have 2. One loss would be okay with me. But my point is that if it happens, they'll quarantine the people. They'll get it quick. But if you bring that many guys in and they don't have it off rip, you got a really good chance that you're going to probably make it through the season, because nobody's going to sneeze from North Monroe Street and is going to get all the way to Pensacola Street. Like, it just doesn't work. It ain't that strong. So like, again, that's why I told a lot of parents who called me, I'm like, man, you sent your baby there. Just know you're not seeing your baby. There's a chance you won't see your baby until February or maybe January. Depends on if we play in a bowl game or not. So send them off knowing that they're not coming back. And even if you come to the game, because I asked the coach then, what's the option? What is going to be the standard protocol for former players? I would like to see a practice, but I'm going to be honest with you. Guys in the 5th quarter, people who want news, I'm not shoving a swab up my nose for you to get the news. Like, that's just, I don't have to do that. I'll let Logan and those guys do the heavy lifting, and I'll just read their stuff. I'll just pretend like I'll give you credit though, Logan. I won't do you like other people. I'll at least give you some credit and props. Hey, per Logan from Noles game day. Yeah, per Logan from Noles game day. This is what practice was like, because I wasn't there. But if thermal scans and stuff like that, parents are gonna have to. Parents want to know. Now the cool thing is that they'll know before a lot of us know, because they're doing like a weekly newsletter, weekly coach Zoom calls with the parents, so they can know what's going on with their babies. Because if you want to know some anger, boy, make a mama mad about what's going on with her babies, and you'll see change happen real quick, as we saw when with Big Marv sent out that quote tweet, and there was a lot of mamas upset, and a lot of answers were had. So.
And I will side with James on that one because I did get the test. It hurts like hell.
Ouch.
The swab hurts like hell.
Ooh.
That's not helping. That's not making me want to get it anymore.
I promise you. Just go. Stay in your house, enjoy life, but it hurts like hell.
That reminds me of one other experience I had in life that I don't want to repeat. One other medical procedure like that.
Got it.
To another portion
You're
of
over
the body.
50?
What's that? No, not even that.
You're over 50?
I am over 50, James. 5'2", but I haven't done
think
that
of what test.
Because of coronavirus. I haven't been, because I'm lazy and I ignore instructions by my doctor. I haven't gone that route yet. And then COVID kicked in at about the time that I was going to get that done. So I'm not even talking about that.
James, do you really not know what test he's talking about?
No, it wasn't a test. It was a little kidney stone procedure.
Oh, I thought it was prostate.
Oh.
That they had to go into a certain part of the body and yank those babies out of me.
Logan's like, what the hell are we talking about here?
I'm sitting here. I just ate. Luckily, I already ate, so I'm good.
Logan's going to catch us up on these two commits. We got they get some pretty impressive 247 composite numbers here with Bryan Estes, 8th rated center in the country, offensive lineman. Everybody should be applauding out there.
Yeah, I was about to say FSU
rated a player in Georgia, and then we got Marion Cooper, 18th rated cornerback.
There's always a DB. We were talking about it last week, and I think we did the week before. There's always going to be a DB coming in. He's talented, going to have to compete. That's a DB. But let's go back to what we were talking about last week, where we were wanting to have an offensive line commit come in. Florida State grabs one. Estes actually was wanting to commit at the end of the summer, but he kind of pushed up and said, you know what, I'm tired of all this recruitment crap, getting these texts from coaches all the time, blah, blah, blah. So he decided to pick FSU. It was really Mizzou at the end that was competing hard, but of course Penn State was in that top 5 along with some other ones. But I think it's a guy that still has some work to do, but solid big boy. He's probably not as ugly as James would like him. Usually some ugly linemen and D linemen are usually some good cats, but he's 6'3". What is he, 6'3" in his weight?
6'3", 291. 6'3", 291.
What? 291. Yeah. So he's a big boy. And so he can actually move from center. He can move. He's kind of a versatile offensive lineman. So I think Florida State fans, I know it's a 3-star, blah, blah, blah. I love seeing Twitter and FSU fans just complain. That's hashtag FSU Twitter for you. It's been that way for 10 years. But you're bringing in a pretty talented offensive lineman. FSU fans should be happy. You're not going to keep on – in order to grab those 4 stars and 5 stars, we talked about last week, you got to go out and win some games and do that kind of stuff on the field. So I think it's a good pickup for FSU.
Logan, what do you think about Cooper? I like him. He's a 6-foot guy. He's a little bit lanky at 170. I'd like to see him gain a little bit of weight, but he's kind of like, he's that 4-star guy. And he's what we've talked about before, how they were kind of going outside the state of Florida, but he's from down in Lehigh Acres, down in the Fort Myers area. What are you hearing about him in that move?
I mean, the thing is, Coach Woodson's got some good connects with some of these cats. I mean, I think if they're developed well, Florida State has always been able to bring in this talent, but the coaching wise has just been pretty kind of piss poor in some different areas, to say the least. You got cats that came in. Sanford Samuels is gone, the third. I mean, we were expecting him to have a pretty decent season last year, and that wasn't even close to the case. I mean, Asante was ahead of him. and a lot of plays. I think coming in with Cooper, if he's developed well and coached under Woodson, and things are looking good, and like we were starting to get some hints from players at the start of spring that they were learning a lot more than they did in the last half with little with this discipline and little technique things. I think I feel a lot more positive about bringing this talent in and having it develop, because I hate to say you can bring in these 4 stars, 5 stars and such, but man, I mean, once they hit the field for FSU, I mean, you can't really call them DBU right now. I mean, they're getting smoked on plays, bad assignments, and they'll look over and complain each other. That's another discipline factor. But yeah, a good talent coming in, just got to see it developed well in the field.
We will always be DBU. Always.
Well, yeah, Jalen. I think only the recruits remember, like Jalen Ramsey and Derwin, which is good, but we need kind of one of those cats to come back. We need someone with that, skill set.
And now the James Coleman Thought on Recruits coming in, sponsored by Dope Boys.
I like the linemen. I think we need some guys there. I don't mind. I'll say the 3-star stuff. I would like to see some. I really would like to see some tackles. If I'm being honest. Right now, I believe the guys that we got are more than likely going to be interior guys, which nothing wrong with that. We need that, but we really need some. We need some tackles, some guys that can stop the pass rush. But all in all, I like the young man. As far as the DB, I mean, okay. I mean, I'm good with it. I would have really liked to see was it Raheem Sanders? Was that the kid from out of Rockledge? I know he's not a DB, he's a wide receiver, but I would have loved to have gotten him and not have him leave the state of Florida to go to Arkansas for all places. I mean, even if I believe that we still got to win some games, Arkansas hasn't won a game in the SEC in their conference in like forever. So I mean, we ain't that bad. We bad, but we're not Arkansas bad right now. So just to be able to get guys like that, we should not be able that should not. But that's not just on us. I don't know how high he was recruited by Florida, Miami as well. But guys like that shouldn't be leaving the state. But we really need some cornerstone linemen and some guys, not just guys that we can develop unless we see how good Coach Atkins is this year. But my fear is if Coach Atkins can take us from like the 117th ranked offensive line and bring us in the top 75, his ass ain't gonna be here after 1 year because he's a magician. He's probably a witch. He commits voodoo or something like that if he's able to get us that good. So that's the only thing I would like to see. That and how do I say this?
Say it.
I have the most tremendous amount of respect for my OG Dope Boy. He coached me when I was in college, and he has one of the dopest rap lyrics of any coach in the NCAA. But at a certain point, he can develop them with the best of them. He can still develop and coach them with the best of them. But we need bodies that we're going to develop, and True Thompson might be good, but we need more than just True Thompson, which right now, True Thompson would have been the last D tackle, if I'm correct. That D tackle that started in high school that we brought in. Like obviously Malcolm Ray is going to move to D tackle, but he came in as a defensive end and he ate himself to D tackle. So like we got to have some guys that in the interior and across the line that we can make sure that we go and get, because eventually when you look at what our rivals are doing, they're committing trench warfare, and no matter how fast you are at the skill position, if those guys can't protect the passer to get it to the coach, or if those guys can't protect the or can't get to the passer, it doesn't matter.
And just a segue on that one there, we talked about this. Florida State actually lost a member of the 2020 class who's going the JUCO route, and it fits right into what you're talking about there. Manny Rogers, who's from Jensen Beach up here in the Treasure Coast down here in the South Florida area. That's a big guy, 6'5", 329. He's a big body in there. And that's really disappointing because I thought he had the potential to eventually fit that mold. I think under the coaching of Odell, he's someone who could have been that next big defensive tackle, that next big guy in the middle there. Hopefully, after he spends time at the JUCO level, he decides he wants to come back to FSU. But I think that one could be And I don't want to say a huge blow, but it was a little bit devastating. What do you think, Logan?
Yeah, no, I do agree. That was a big hit. And like what James is talking about, the Odell thing, I mean, got to bring in cats for depth. Haven't seen the signee in a while. Now definitely losing this guy in the 2020 class. We need Odell to get out there and bring in some big boys. He's done a good job recruiting wise. He was able to fight hard and bring in Marvin Wilson and other cats. But right now it seems very, very quiet. Maybe there's talks about retiring maybe after this year or 2 years. Maybe that's affecting the recruiting, but something's got to be set down, and they got to start preparing for another defensive line coach. I think I feel bad kind of for Coach. I mean, he takes care of business and he develops these guys, but man, he's had to go through these coaching staffs. It wasn't easy coaching with Jimbo Fisher either, so that was stressful. And then you go from there to Willie Taggart. Now he's going to Mike Norvell, and there's just so many cycles for him. He's just had surgery this like 6 months ago, I believe. And so I don't know. It's tough, and he obviously Florida State fan. And plus, to throw in there, he also had to sub in and be an interim head coach, which he did an excellent job in. But just tough. We'll see. You got to keep an eye on it. I don't know if he's telling recruits or something's going on there, but Florida State should be letting them know. We need some D tackles in there.
And I have to say, James, I'm sorry, I love you, I respect you, I still have a man crush on you for that Miami touchdown in 2005, but it is the worst lyric in the Seminole rap. Odell Haggins is proof that Polk County people cannot rap. He was a god-awful rapper. You had Sammy Smith, you had Deion Sanders, even Peter Tom Willis's verse was better. His 16 bars were better.
I didn't say it was the best. I said it was the best in college coaching right now. I don't know how many coaches in college have rap songs out there. So I guess don't kill me on that. It could be wrong. It's up for interpretation. But I want to make this statement because when I made this tweet, and this might have been what got me banned, because Florida fans are very sensitive, and typically if I tweet anything about Florida fans, it's never good news. It's always about some player not making it or something happening. I don't want it to be that way. It's just how it works when I get Florida news. But I stated, do you know how dumb you got to be to not be able to qualify for the clearinghouse in a year where they waived the ACT and the SAT? Like, I just God forbid, if that would have happened when I was coming out, I wouldn't have had to go the route that I went. Like, I didn't think I was getting into Florida State until I had to score that. Until I had to score high on the ACT and on the ACT. But there's a guy. I can't remember his name. Logan, you're better with these names, or you guys might remember. He originally was committed to Pitt. He's from Florida, from down south. I call him Tech 9 Timmy, but I don't really remember his name. I just remember he got arrested and had to go to trial for kidnapping and brandishing a weapon on somebody, and he still managed to graduate high school and clear the clearinghouse. Those are the type of kids that I need on my roster. I can use some educated goons. There's nothing wrong with an educated goon. If you can perform well enough to get major Division I scholarships, beat trial, beat felony charges, and graduate from high school, you are the type of multifaceted, multitasking young man that can learn the complexities of a 3-4 defense and possibly get to the quarterback. So, like, that's something that, right now he has nowhere to go. He'd probably even be willing to take a blue shirt or even walk on. I would just take a gander at him. But that's just me. And I think Odell's the type of guy that can bring that young man in, change his life a little bit, maybe get him to focus on the more important things. But we ain't got nobody. So somebody's better than nobody.
And I didn't want to say anything about Manny Rogers because we all don't know the circumstances, as far as what led him to not qualify for FSU, going the junior college route. I don't want to defame anyone. I was going to say that this is a special year to not qualify. I had to do tutoring because I'm dyslexic, so I was able to do well in the SAT. So I get it. I understand it. We all have our stuff. But, yeah, James kind of hit the nail on the head. 2020 is kind of a special year where you kind of get that free pass to just get to Tallahassee. And if you're going the junior college route, something must have been screwed up. And I also want to give a shout-out to Mike Williams here, giving us $20. I was going to make fun of Miami fans about them being delusional, thinking they're going to beat us for 4 straight years, thinking they're going to blow us out. I don't get that. You've lost 3 straight games. You got shut out in your bowl game by Louisiana Tech. You lost to FIU. But Mike Williams, you have saved the day. Thank you for your $20 to Mark Rogers TV, the voice of college football.
Absolutely. And in setting up Logan for his time of the show to let everyone know what they need to do, I was going to segue along with the Mike Williams contribution. Thank you so much, Mike, because Logan and I were on the other day when the Mike Norvell story was hot. And Logan and I were basically just flabbergasted at the Miami folks ringing up the cash register here at Mark Rogers TV, the voice of college football, and our impromptu breaking news Florida State live stream, and all the contributions coming from Miami fans, and it just continues right here.
Yeah, no, it was rolling. Miami fans were just tossing money down and back. I mean, it was great to see, but then we only had one FSU fan throwing some money, which is great. But I wish we would have had a little bit more Noles come in and throw some money. But if we don't hit the like button and we don't hit the share button on Facebook, then I don't know what else we're going to do until football season hits, because we need more people to view. I think we had, 3,000? How many people watched it last week? 3,000 more? Probably 4.
We were at like 3,300 the last I checked.
Wow. So people actually do kind of care about what we talk about a little bit. But yeah, hit the like button. It shares out to more Noles on YouTube. It hits the algorithm there. And then also on Facebook, share it to your friends and family so they can come in here and hang out with us and talk some FSU every Tuesday night at 7 p.m. I don't know how many likes we're at. We're at 26.
So what basically happens there on the Facebook situation is that James has like an army out there.
Yeah, no, he's
like an army, and he just tells them, you know what to do, and then
yeah,
it just goes out.
Now, with the Miami fans, were they like making it rain? Were they throwing it down? Like, was it hailing? How did because I mean, it was like Tootsie style, Scarlets. Like, how was it?
It was pretty decent. I have to give them the respect that they deserve. They were throwing down the money every probably like 3 minutes, and I got to give a shout out to them. As usual, though, they are on an FSU live stream. They had to come to that. Not really much else going on for them, I guess, down there in Miami. I thought it's summertime in Miami. I thought there'd be some more fun things to do.
Have they opened up the beaches yet?
No. Miami Beach opens up tomorrow. The beaches here in Broward County opened up last week. Dade County opens up tomorrow because the curfew got lifted. But see, that's the thing. The certain clubs that are more for adults, the entertainment type clubs, those aren't open yet. So the Canes fans have to make it rain every 3 minutes. So they come here.
So I can't get chicken wings yet. If I come down to Miami to visit my daughter, I can't eat chicken.
First of all, the chicken wings at Tootsie's are delicious, number one. I have actually picked them up and then gone to the station before. That's number one. Number two, when you think of sexy beasts that you want to donate money to, I think of the four of us. No?
I think Logan got it. He's got the young Natty Light energy.
Logan's the boy cute one out of the group there. He's the Justin Timberlake out of our group. I'm like,
whoa, maybe.
Justin Timberlake's like 42 now.
That's fine. I'm sure you're more like the Chris Kirkpatrick, Mark, and then James would be like Jason Chazet, was it? Chazet, whatever his name was. So successful.
I've got a small list of celebrities I get compared to. I can't remember the latest one. I was in a pizza place like 2 weeks ago, and I got thrown a name that I've heard several times. I'll have to look that one up and throw it your guys' way, and we'll see if that one hits the mark.
Now, here's my question for
I
them.
don't remember who it was.
Who had a worse week last week? Mike Norvell for the whole debacle with the lies or whatnot, however you want to say it, with the issue with Marvin Wilson, or Drew Brees with the New Orleans Saints. Who had a worse week last week?
Since this is a Florida State show, I want, and Logan and I cleared this up, and we had a great show the other night, and people jumped in, and of course Logan was laying out the chronology of exactly what happened. But I want to get this straight. Mike Norvell basically was asked what he was doing surrounding the racial unrest and situation going on in the country in terms of his team. Was he asked about it, or did he volunteer this statement that he made? That's my first question.
Okay.
My second question is, it sounds like he basically said, I've talked to all the players, where he should have said, I've reached out and made myself accessible to all the players.
That's correct, Mark. That's what.
Okay.
Right.
But,
So to go backwards to your responses, yes, that's how he should have answered it, or he should have just said I reached out to the players, because he didn't lie. He did reach out to the players, but when he said I individually reached out to the players and had dialogue, essentially, it's not a huge lie, but it was a lie that didn't need to be told. And it wasn't a lie. It was just more so like he did kind of. Like from what I was told, he talked about 50 to 60 players. Like they responded back to the text. But the way that it was presented, in a sensitive time, like in a vacuum, there's nothing wrong with what Mike Norvell did. In a vacuum. In today's time, and like I said, when you're talking to the parents, like for me, it would have been Rodney King, but I was like 9, 10 years old when Rodney King happened. I don't really remember what happened with Rodney King. I remember a black guy saying, getting whooped and can we all just get along? But I don't have it like embedded in my head that what happened with those riots. I kind of remember OJ and people losing their mind with OJ. It was really I say all that to say is there was really no big racial thing that happened when I was in college. So my mom never, and I was down the street, but my mom never had to like have Coach Bowden talk to me or be there to kind of help me become a man and take me through this. These young men, when Eric Gardner happened, they were in middle school. I can be honest with you. Even big events, like even 9/11, which happened my senior year in high school. I remember it, but I don't remember it as much as like a parent will remember it. And I wasn't in college. I do remember the after effects of being a little nervous about getting on the airplane that next year with FSU. And I remember taking my visits and driving everywhere. But that was more so because my mom was panicked and we got 55 cents to the mile. So they technically paid you to get where you need to get. So I say all that to say is that you've got a lot of these guys who reported May 15th. And they're away from their parents. And you could talk to your dad or your mom, and believe it or not, nowadays, it ain't like me. There's a lot of involved fathers that are in this, that are with these guys, but you're not there. And a lot of parents reached out in text message and call. I saw them. Would you please, you and Odell, talk to our boys? Because right now they have no idea what's going on. Like, or at least be there to bounce an idea. And just say I did it, and then this is what you did. It kind of like, they knew what happened, but then when you see it get blown up, and what I will say is Big Marv kind of like maybe blew it up even more. And whether it was right, wrong, or indifferent, I always tell people this: if you respond the way you found out, I don't believe you're in the wrong. Marv did not find out in private that was said. Marv found out on a public space, so he responded on a public space. Probably should have done it in private. We wouldn't be having this conversation. And I believe the things that happened after that.
See, I got
to your question of if he was asked, is he was asked, and Mike Norvell admitted that Tayshaun did not embellish his words. Tayshaun wrote what he said. It's on record, and he said I should have clarified, and that's legitimately. Once he said that, that's when I was like, you know what? Hey, at least you're owning up to it. They'll give you the benefit of the doubt. Eventually, you got to earn the trust, but you should have clarified. That's all that was.
James, I got to disagree with you on that part there. I don't think Marvin Wilson did anything wrong in responding the way that he did in the manner.
No. Hold on. Let me stop you real quick. Marvin Wilson wasn't wrong with the way he responded, but if you're going to do that, and then you're going to be one of the first ones to show up to the damn meeting, that's where it was wrong. You could have had a phone call for that. Now, if you were really going to come out and lead a rebellion, because there are 3 players that were left out of that did not know that they were going to that meeting, who actually had no problem with Mike Norvell and what he said. That's where I have the issue. It's not an issue. That's why I'm like, the young boys call it cap. Like if I'm mad at you at 2:00 in the morning, I'm more than likely not going to be smiles or Hallmark cards with you at 8:50. Even if we talk, if I said we shutting it down, we shutting it down. And what happened when he shut it down? Did you see the response? I think Marvin didn't know how much power he had until he said that. Because I guarantee it's a bunch of them kids wasn't even really feeling that way, feeling strong like that. But when my brother says, my friend, I'll give you an example. When Ty Williams said Adrian McPherson is going to be the starting quarterback and we going up to Coach Bowden's office, he had 20 seniors go with him to Coach Bowden's office. I'd rather Coach Biden run me to death than Todd punch me in my chest. Like, you know what I'm saying? When my brother says that, it's a difference. It's a respect level for the head coach. But that's your bruh. So when bruh said we're not doing nothing, that's it. Ain't no ifs, ands, or buts. And that's my I don't like I said, I'm not like begrudging, like, judging him. I'm just saying, like, to show up at 8:50, like, and like and not tell everybody, like, you showed up and then called everybody and said, hey, y'all need to come to the meeting. Like, that's my problem.
I don't have a problem with what Marvin did at all, because I think that's showing the leadership that Florida State has been missing the last couple seasons, and what Florida State is going to have to need to turn this program around is having that kind of leadership. I salute him for going to the meeting, because it's easy, and we live in a generation, and I know that we're sitting here on a YouTube channel, YouTube and Facebook and Twitter and all that, where everyone, you know, the keyboard warriors, you can say and type whatever, but you don't have to actually do it face to face. To me, Marvin said it online and then went face to face and said, I need to deal with this. I need to man up. I lost a little bit of respect for Mike Norvell and how he didn't read the situation. Whatever side of the spectrum you're on, whatever opinion you have on this, there is a time where you need to understand the situation and you need to read the situation. Mike Norvell, did not think completely understood the situation, did not read the situation properly, and chose the wrong words. Should he be punished for that? Should he lose his job? No, of course not. I'm not that crazy. But should he have gotten the pushback from Marvin, from certain other players? Yeah, and then they met. They aired out their differences. They got it. They realized the mistakes with each other, and now they're good. That's the way it should happen. And I think the same way with Drew Brees. I thought Drew Brees with the Saints, I thought that he was on the crash course for Jameis Winston to be the starter in game 2 because Brees was going to get murdered after his anthem comments, because the offensive line was just going to let the Bucs defense go through there in game 1. But Brees read the situation. I don't necessarily think he fully agrees with what he said from the rest of the point there, but he understood and read the situation after that point. So there is a part of that. You got to read the situation from the beginning. I think that's something that Mike Norvell will learn for the future. Why are you shaking your head there, Mark Rogers?
Because I tend to believe that Drew Brees doesn't completely agree with the apology he gave, but that's a judgment call on my part that I'm just conjecturing. So I'm going to take him at his word. But people don't generally just flip a switch and have a complete change of heart and change of mind on a situation like that.
You're right.
Typically they don't.
Nobody says
like James. I'll make my statement about Marvin Wilson, because I said the same thing to Logan the other day. As a 52-year-old, I would have gone to the head coach directly, because I didn't grow up with social media. I didn't deal with things like that. But I am jumping out.
I would go to the coach first.
Gotcha, Logan. And I believe I would too, but I'm just trying to remove myself from being 22 or 20 or whatever he is, to being the age that I am, to say I don't know what I would do, but I don't believe I would have either. Had I had a social media, the thing would have existed a zillion years ago. But I'm trying to refrain, and I believe I've always had this stance, but even more so in this climate going forward, to declaring people are wrong. You're wrong, you're wrong, you're wrong. Mm-hmm. Unless I've got some kind of moral justification for it. Somebody committed murder, they're wrong. Somebody committed rape, yes, they're wrong. But on a lot of these issues, I am standing back on that term wrong. I'm seeing that way too much. You're wrong, you're wrong. People on their moral high ground, their self-righteousness on social media, pointing at everybody, you're wrong, you're wrong, you're wrong.
You're wrong.
That's my own.
Is this, and this is what I mean. Because I said before, I understand. Like, Marvin found out publicly, he responded publicly, and that's typically how things happen. I'm not going to, if I find out if you made the quote to Tayshaun, and Tayshaun put it out there. That's how I found out. But here's why I said that I would have handled it differently, and what Marv has to understand is that Marv is an ambassador of the program, whether you like it or not. My number one interest is in the program. When I make this statement, I know what's going to happen. It's literally, I didn't make that statement to just kind of tell people that Mike Norvell was embellishing. I made that statement to tell people that Mike Norvell's a liar. And here's the thing, is that the tweet after the makeup tweet never gets as much tweets and as much interaction as the initial tweet. And we're talking about something today that was wrapped up at 10 o'clock on Thursday. It's Tuesday. They were still talking about it on ESPN today. So, like, what happens is it went from, I'll give Bomani Jones his props. Bomani Jones actually followed the entire story, kind of like even with me. I tweeted through my emotions on the whole thing. But Bomani tweeted through the whole stuff, and then you saw the end goal, and Bomani wrapped it up, said, hey, if he's good with it, then I'm good with it. But you still got talking heads like Jamel Hill, who, I'm not going to throw her off like people try to throw Tayshaun. Jamel's a damn good journalist, whether you agree with her stuff or you don't agree with her stuff. She does a good job. But Jamel has yet to write the follow-up. Matter of fact, the conclusion to what Mike Norvell said, she even went above and said that's still not good enough. Yet and still, she's not commented on the fact that Dabo now, and what we found in the same amount of time, that Dabo had a coach tell a player who, quote unquote, can use it or not, it doesn't matter, but to call a player a racial epitaph to try to stop him from using a racial epitaph. Then they're saying that he may have used, saying he don't want to hear said racial epitaph in a meeting because another black coach who's probably heard racial epitaphs if he's been in the locker room. Logan, you ain't got to say you use it now because I don't want to get you in trouble. But that Childs, did y'all listen to rap music?
Yeah, all the time.
Okay, so we can fairly say if you've been in a football locker room, it could be the whitest of the white or the blackest of the black. It could be Hispanic or Korean. The odds are high if you've played DMX or Jay-Z in the locker room, you've heard said racial epitaph. Just putting that out there. There's no need for you to say it. Now, he says he hasn't, but former players have come out and said they have. He hasn't spoken on BLM. Even his apology today was wild. But you haven't had the talking head speak on that, but we're still talking about this Mike Norvell thing today. And like, while you can get to your parents or your program, you can get to the players, you can't get to every recruit. And every recruit you don't have time to give every recruit that same thing. That's why I say if you weren't that mad, Marv, just call him. Now, if you big mad, drop the mixtape, drop the bomb like you did. But I'm never going to hold the 22-year-old to the same standard as I'm going to hold the 38-year-old that's making $5 million a year. Had he just clarified his statement, we wouldn't even be in this situation.
And I think
it's a few more words because I've interviewed Mike Norvell before. I've seen interviews with Mike Norvell before. Mike know how to say what Mike mean. Mike knows how to control the interview because I've asked Mike some tough questions. Yeah. He said a bunch of words that I don't really know what they mean, but it sounded real good and it made you feel good in your heart. And then you go back, you listen to the transcript and realize he didn't say shit. So I know if Mike wanted to say something, Mike could have said something.
James, you did stupid stuff when you were 22 or 21 or stuff.
Without a doubt.
I did a lot of stuff that I should have clearly not gotten anywhere near what I'm doing right now in my mid-30s because of stuff I did at 21, 22. Mark Rogers, I'm sure if we go back in the time machine, there was stuff you did at 21 or 22 that 52-year-old Mark Rogers would be like, whoops, sorry, my bad. I apologize. I'd like to state a public apology.
Why did I advertise my age? I'm going to hear that over and over now.
You're screwed. Just letting you know right now. But that's why it's hard for me as a I'll say my age as a 36-year-old to condemn someone for what they did and what they're feeling at 21. Because I was that same fiery person at 21. Have I matured a little bit? Well, it depends on who you talk to, but I think for the most part I have 15 years later. So that's why I'm willing to give Marvin Wilson that benefit of that doubt. And I think James hit the nail on the head. He felt as strongly as he could about that, and he took the action that he felt was necessary. Would we do that? Would Mark do that at his age, my age, or James' age? No. Would Logan do that at his age? Probably. But that's just how we need to realize it.
Yeah, and it goes to show, too, just to end it off, it goes to show Florida State still moves that needle. Everybody still has their eyes on Florida State no matter what. All the cameras are still here in Tallahassee. That's good to know. I hope they stay that way whenever Florida State starts winning, too.
Several when we start winning. But, again, I came through a situation where we still vilify Chris Ricks for doing stuff that we would all do. Like I promise you, you give me. I'll tell them myself. There's technically like 2 handicap spots right next to the Starbucks that I go to, and then there's a third one, but it don't got the pole. So technically, it's not, but it looked like one. The handicapped people don't need to get that Starbucks as much as I need to get. And I'm in and out. I ordered. So, I mean, we vilified Chris Ricks for that. We vilified a lot of stuff. My thing is that you got to understand the logo. Like, again, this is different than a lot of other programs. Like, our alumni speak about it differently. And, hell, Odell at that meeting allegedly said, we Florida State, we unconquered. Every time he says it, every meeting, it doesn't matter. Odell, you gonna eat some grits and eggs? We Florida State, baby. We unconquered. Like,
that's funny what he said at the meeting.
But he's yelling. But my thing is that that's the only thing that I would say, because it's already a lot of question marks on it. No problem with it. Be honest with you, at the end of the day, they've moved on from it, but it's a distraction that we did not need. Like, that was the one thing I was going to bed. I was going to get some. And I was ready to get some action. And then my phone started pinging because of Marvin. And you know what? I didn't get any action because I got to report what the hell is going on. And I'm like, this is the last thing I need to deal with is this mess right here. So again, it's not about if Mark right or wrong. Like, I think what Mark said is, I'm not vilifying any of them. I'm just saying, as a unit of Florida State, let's try to keep as much stuff in house as possible until it really, really is. But again, Mike, you kind of sidestepped a landmine. Just clarify and quantify your statements. Don't make it seem like you're doing more for your little colored boys than other people are doing for theirs, and that you would have never been in this situation.
Yeah, and I think
Chris Rick still has my sociology notes from freshman year, my freshman year, his sophomore year. If I could get those back, I mean, I passed the course. It's fine, but it would be nice.
Listen, man, it's called working smarter, not harder.
It's been 17 years now, but okay. But I'd like them back. It's nice.
Yeah, I think there was a lot of disagreement right off the bat. Some players told me they were going to workouts no matter what was happening, no matter how the meeting went and whatnot. A lot of players love Mike Norvell. They talk highly about him. I think there was a lot of miscommunication between Marvin Wilson and his teammates too. Some were not on the same page with that whole debacle, whatever you want to call it. But luckily, on the optimistic side, it seems like everybody's back on the same page, and they said that they growed and the players are closer than ever with their position coaches and whatnot. So that's a good thing. But the players really do like Mike Norvell. So all the Miami fans and Florida fans in here that are making fun of it all, it was a nice try. You almost had them there for a little bit, but they still like Mike.
Look who you're talking to. You're talking to fan bases. You're talking to a fan base who's been talking smack to us this entire time about how they're going to run us when they lost to FIU, Duke, and Louisiana Tech. That's the fan base that we're dealing with here on this one. And by the way, James, just for the record,
Jason, do I need to remind you of the obvious, though, when you go off on that?
They beat us. I get it. But then they took that beating us and went on all the way to lose to FIU, Duke, and Louisiana Tech. So what
absolutely, that looks bad, but you understand that you hold the ultimate trump card when you win the head-to-head.
I have not said
it's kind of difficult to argue against that unless Florida State's 10-2 and Miami 6-6. Then you can say, well, you knocked us off that week, but we were better for the season. But that didn't happen either. They were both marginal teams.
You should learn after 56 weeks. It's not hard for me to argue anything. That's number one. Number two, Miami fans are always wrong.
It's not hard for you to keep talking.
That's number three.
Those are two different things. You're effectively arguing a point and just continuing to talk. Those aren't necessarily the same thing.
100%. My beef is more the fact of why Miami fans are talking like they're a team coming off their third straight national title when they're a team, with all due respect, that's on a 3-game losing streak. And
absolutely.
It's not lost 3 games. It's that their losses were bad losses. You got shut out in your bowl game to Louisiana Tech. You lost badly to a Duke team that had a losing record, and you lost to FIU, which also had a losing record.
I enjoy having the neutral stance on these conversations because I had the same conversation the other day on the Miami show, and I said, here's what we got going here. We got 2 teams that went 6-6 and lost bowl games last year, so that's even. We got Miami with 3 consecutive wins in the series, including last year, so you've got that, which tends to be the ultimate trump card, but we've got Florida State, who's had much more recent relevant success, not we went 7-5 success. No, we won a national championship in 2013. We went to a college football playoff in 2014. We've won the ACC a zillion times. You've won the ACC 0 times. So there's different ways to fight this thing.
Let me see if I can.
Overall, over the last 15 years, it's not even close.
Let me see if I can get Cam Underwood's reaction to that. Let's see. He mentioned Derek King. He mentioned how Manny Diaz is the greatest coach in the world. He mentioned how somebody who's not.
No, you got to go way back. Go back. Wide rights and wide lefts.
Oh, he mentioned wide rights. He mentioned the fact that kick that. Well, I think our last wide left was what, 2004? Was our last wide right? Okay. So once again, Miami fans continuing to live in the past. Got it. Okay, cool. Win a title in the last decade, and then you can talk smack to us. Okay. I told you I'm coming in hard. I got food poisoning. Damn public Caesar salad. I'm telling you, I'm coming hard in the paint today.
Full send.
I'm not disagreeing. That's how I laid it out. I gave talking points to each side, but I certainly would rather be a Florida State football fan right now. If we're just talking about bragging rights against Miami, despite the 3 consecutive losses, I'd much rather be a Florida State football fan with a 2013 national championship, a 2014 undefeated regular season, a glut of ACC championships versus 0. Even since they joined the league, which was in 2003?
2004.
Like 8, they have none. Yeah, I would rather be a Florida State fan making that argument rather than having to go back to 1992 and 1990, etc.
I'd rather be a Florida State fan because I have half a brain. So why be a Florida State fan?
From the
grew up on, that would be a 1 Florida A&M, the highest of 7 hills. Often imitated, never duplicated. The innumerable marching 100 will now be with the SWAC. And man, I am going to be honest with you. It's going to be very difficult for me to pick which games I want to go to because that SWAC lineup, Prairie View, Southern, Grambling, Alcorn State. I'm trying to think if they got who else they got. They're on top of their regular schedule. Oh, Alabama A&M. Was it Alabama State too? Alabama State, who Florida State fans got a chance to see last year. I had a lot of people in the 5th quarter talking about how much talent their flag girls had, and they are very talented. But it's going to be difficult to not go to those games, even if you don't like the football. The bands are just amazing, and it's going to be dope. I might have to. The 5th quarter might have to I might have to head up our HBCU division to go check out a couple homecomings and some stuff like that. So that's a huge financial thing. Those cats, that's going to be some big stuff. I know this is FSU, but I just wanted to make sure that people understood that that's a huge deal for FAMU.
We love the Rattlers. We love the men from over on the other side who play brag all the time. The reports are that their first game against Southern, instead of that game being in Baton Rouge, that game's going to be in New Orleans. I'm going to be lit.
Oh, hell yeah.
I'm going to be lit.
Oh, hell yeah. And my daughter's going to Southern, too. So, I mean, it's going to be I might be trying to – how old – I don't want to be that creeper. But, like, can you holler at like they 18? Look, that wouldn't look right, would it? I mean, like, would it look right if I – anyway, bottom line, just all jokes.
When I go to
you better watch yourself.
No,
I'm gonna go out there with the old man linen and dressed like an old black man with my dreads. Look, hopefully my hairline will still be blessed and not receding like my boy Dibby Dukes, who always picks on me on Twitter, who doesn't have a hairline.
Just get a nice pair of sunglasses, like I do this every year when I go to the Classic, when I go see Fan play Bethune. Just put some nice sunglasses on, and then you can just look at whatever you want to.
There it is. There it is, man. Appreciate you guys, man. I gotta go interview Bryce Young's pop about why he didn't come to Florida State. But not just joking about, but
yeah.
All
right,
he's gonna be like, all right, guys.
Thanks, James. Have a good night, man.
Be good.
James,
I think I'm gonna go
down for us. Good stuff from him. And we'll hit a few other key points that all have to do with me. So I'm being selfish here. We can just keep up this shot from Jonathan Meharg. I've never seen Jonathan's handle before.
Yeah, we're going rated R now. We've seen a big change.
I am no longer the voice of college football. James is frozen. I guess we'll just get rid of James here.
You see the word.
It's a good smile, though. It's a good smile.
Yeah, it's a good smile. It's a good look.
It's good.
you see
Jonathan has ditched the voice of college football, and we're going with Jonathan's suggestion now.
We're leaving this word up here. All right, cool. That's where we're going with this now. All right, cool.
When it's stated in such a way, why not? Mineral Tim and Mr. G14 Classified, they want merch. They're clamoring for merch. They want mini helmets signed. They want T-shirts. We'll get to going on that.
They want autographs from Jason and me too. Is that what comes with the package there too?
Possibly, yeah. We can get you guys involved.
I'll sign this Lindy's magazine. I'll act like I'm Marvin Wilson. I'll sign there. Let's talk about that real quick. Lindy's magazine, not a big fan of them. They're a little religious and whatnot, but I let them go on that one. But can we talk about the fact of who they think is going to be number one ranked team? Ohio State.
Is that like a big stretch or something?
Don't do that. Who would pick Ohio State?
I got a little note here too from yesterday. I've been told that Hamza Nasruddin is close to 100%. Obviously, he's probably the second best player coming back on FSU's defense. We were talking about Marvin Wilson, but right behind him, my pick is Hamza Nasruddin. He is close to 100%. He's been working out with the team. Whoa, you don't agree, Jason? Not the number 2 player on defense?
No, he's saying eBay.
Okay. Yeah, but Hamza's close back. He has been lifting since the team has gotten back on campus. That's a good sign. Also, Jaleel McRae, just to talk about Coach Storms for a second, he was at 238. Talking linebacker here, Jaleel McRae. He was at 238. He's down to 225. He's going to go from Mike to Will, linebacker, but his secondary will be Mike. But they're obviously doing some shifting around, and maybe he's toning up his body. He wants to stay at 225. But I've also been told these players do not like Willie Taggart. I mean, the more I keep on learning from it, and so I can't say names and whatnot, but holy sweet mother, they're talking publicly about it now. I mean, but the no discipline. They said they had no discipline, and players weren't buying in last season. But the discipline factor is what's going to change this team from terribleness from the last 2 years to what it is now under Mike Norvell. I think you're going to see a big change. And I think someone in here too was talking about it. About how the discipline is going to probably change and bring this team easily to 8 wins this upcoming season. And from the public statements from these players is just pretty interesting to me. What was going on here the last 2 years, I think is going to be one of the most embarrassing events that's happened in Florida State history.
This has been the Logan Bashes Willie Taggart portion of the program, sponsored by Bullwinkles, where Logan goes to get drunk every Tuesday night.
I've only been there 4 times.
Then you're wasting your time at FSU. Get the moose card and call it a day, right?
Yeah.
Anthony Sanders is starting the Jason for President campaign.
If you want someone this liberal, you go right ahead.
Mike Myrick, we always appreciate your contribution, your support. You're always on here. And certainly Mr. G14 Classified with a lot of great comments tonight as well in his support. Tons of people in your support. We're not going to try to list everybody, but thank you so much. With 75 on the line, we topped out around 90, 95, something in that range. Should get a good number on Facebook Live for a 56th time. You've tied Joe DiMaggio, Jason.
Thank you. And I'm doing it right now. I've said this for several weeks. I'm making a bold declaration, statement of war right now. I am calling out Cam Underwood from State of the U. I'm telling him 3 words, come get some. I want Cam Underwood on here Tuesday night at 7 o'clock, maybe not next Tuesday, but whenever he can. I want on here. I want to talk Miami, Florida State. I want us to combine our forces on why we hate the Florida Gators. I want us to actually have a great conversation, mostly because we have nothing else to talk about right now.
And we need another call-in show.
So you're not going to go get Cam. Cam's got to come get you.
When do you do his show?
We've been doing it on Saturday morning.
Yeah, I'm going to be in Key West this Saturday, so that's not going to happen.
I don't blame you. And then maybe we could also argue that too.
Oh, yeah.
That's a good one.
It's FSU is the DPU.
That's FSU. That's Miami. That's Ohio State.
If there's some good coaching there,
LSU.
Miami
you might have a chance to come back.
Miami is automatically out of the conversation when you go back to the Fiesta Bowl. you can't commit pass interference and then say you're DBU if you're not teaching proper techniques.
On the NFL, though, Jalen Ramsey, Derwin James, I mean, I don't really see Miami guys in there, but that's just for another conversation, right? That's the next one. And, I mean, I guess I have Joe Hayden in Pittsburgh, but I don't really see much happening in that defensive back. You know, I think everyone that talks about DBs, at least in around Florida, they know who Derwin James and Jalen Ramsey are. That's their daddies when it compares to at least rivals in the chat here. Knowing and talk against Ohio State, LSU, and others.
And then we would obviously, all of us would have our own like perspective on what we consider. Do we consider NFL greatness? What do we consider when we're going to take that into consideration? Linebacker U, DBU, wide receiver U, whatever the position. Different people are like, okay, well, they went to the NFL. Fine, I don't care about them. It's all about college production. Others obviously take into consideration. If you got a Pro Football Hall of Famer, if you got Deion Sanders, then obviously you're going to talk that up.
Well, I think that's why we talked about this before. When you know, we're going to defame Miami fans here from when Miami fans talk about why that 0-1 team in their mind is the greatest college football team of all time. Their first argument is look at all these guys who were drafted into the NFL. Well, the 2013 Florida State team had every single starter drafted to the NFL, including the kicker, was drafted to the NFL. So by that argument right there, you had multiple players on the Miami team who didn't even touch an NFL roster, didn't even touch a Canadian Football League roster. So I think you have to look at what they did in college. And if you're going to do that, Deion Sanders has a Thorpe Award. Terrell Buckley has a Thorpe Award. Look at what Jalen Ramsey and Derwin James did in recent years.
Yeah, and Rob over here, since I mentioned Steelers, obviously either a Miami fan or someone's coming after me, but Rob Cross, obviously you have not watched any of your wife's Steelers games because you just stated that the Steelers don't have a good defense. They need Big Ben. We do need Big Ben back, but the Steelers defense was one of, if not the best defense in the last stretch of NFL last year. So I'm going to need you to get on and watch more Steelers games with your wife. You're obviously on your iPad while you're watching her Steelers games, which are most usually on prime time because it's still Steeler Nation. 6 rings. I enjoy it. And I get Thanksgiving prime time from me whenever we beat the Ravens.
Oh, when they lose,
can't wait for that.
When they lose to the Ravens again on Thanksgiving on NBC, that's going to be great. You guys got swept by the Ravens last year, right?
Mm-hmm. Huh?
You guys got
swept. The first game barely, yeah.
But you got swept, right? Just want to check.
Barely.
Okay. I love the way Miami's part of the conversation every week on FSU show because your fans won't shut up. Because your fans have to go work at Publix instead of being on your Saturday morning show.
Like I told Mark last when we were talking about the Mike Norvell thing and Marvin Wilson, I said I have no interest in going to watch football in a soccer stadium. I really never have, and I don't think I ever will down in the 305. I don't think I will. So it just doesn't attract me.
It's a nice stadium, you know.
Yeah.
It's a nice stadium. It's a beautiful stadium. It was the stadium in Ace Ventura. Stadium in any given Sunday. Stadium where the Dolphins used to be successful in decades ago. It's a decent place.
I don't think I'll be there.
10 minutes from my house, 10 minutes that way.
Tyler, you know what? God, chat just starts rolling now. Being an FSU fan and Steelers fan, guy must be bad. I had one bad last year. Big Ben. We had friggin' Hodges out there who blew up FSU whenever he was here when he was playing for Sanford. But don't worry, I'm not even worried one bit. I can't wait to talk to y'all in a few months. Man, it's going to feel good having our future Hall of Fame quarterback ripping apart that Ravens defense. I'm not even worried.
Can we talk about a real NFL team that goes 14-2 and then loses their first playoff game? Can we talk about a real NFL team here?
I think
it's time to about shut it down at this point.
Wait till Lamar gets obliterated. All I need is one good smack, and that should do it for him.
Let's all combine our forces that at least on your worst day in Pittsburgh and my worst day in Baltimore, we're not as bad as Cleveland or Cincinnati.
Rob, I need you to watch more Steelers games because
let's understand that the Cleveland Browns have more NFL championships than the Baltimore Ravens do.
That was also before.
Oh man.
That was before the Super Bowl era. Come on. Do not.
So NFL history doesn't exist.
Mark, you are better than this. You are a better man than this. In your 15 years, have they won a title?
Pardon me?
Have they won a title in your lifetime?
No.
Okay, then don't go back to the past like that. You're sounding like a Notre Dame fan, a Miami fan.
So is that the criteria within our lifetimes?
I think it helps in your argument. It helps a lot if they've done something in your lifetime.
Mike Williams says, if Diaz fails, I would call Mike Tomlin. If you don't shut up right now, shush.
Let's just be
so ignorant.
Miami was so desperate for a coach they had to hire a Florida State grad. Just to remind Miami fans of that. Your coach went to FSU.
Hey, go Giants. Go Giants. BW. San Fran Giants. Yeah.
You see that I didn't put up any kind of fight, Jason, because the Browns just don't have my heart. It just doesn't matter to me.
You'll be good. You'll be good.
I really don't care. All right, everyone. That's another Florida State Live in the books, number 56. Thanks to Jason Parker. Thanks to Logan Robinson. And please join them on their Twitter handles. Logan as well on NoleGameDay.com. And when's the podcast, Logan?
We dropped one yesterday this morning of the BRYSON ESTES commitment. And also we have a Discord. We just reached 1,000 members in a month. So that's blowing up. We're dropping nuggets and recruiting stuff. So that thing's going crazy. I didn't even think that Discord thing would be this quickly growing, but it's awesome. So if you like Discord and nuggets and recruiting stuff, our man Nate has been killing it. He was ahead on the ESTES commitment. He did the commitment interview and everything. We did a graphic for him. So definitely hit up that Discord if you're interested. But yeah, Hear the Spear. That's the podcast. I would definitely suggest listening. I think it was 2.5 hours long. We stayed up till 1:30 last night recording it. So
yeah, we're weak here.
Yeah, that was a little nuts. Yeah,
76 minutes right now and out.
I'm awake here.
All right, guys, we appreciate it.
Thank you,
See
Mark.
you next week. Florida State Seminoles live next Tuesday night, 7 o'clock Eastern time. See you then.
Cam Underwood, come get some.